In the name of the one true God, the primordial benefactor who is kind. Aleph Lam Ra. What follows are elements of the scripture that brings clarity. We revealed this oration in Arabic so you can all grasp. We shall relay to you the finest of all tales, one that forms part of our broader communication to you of the Qur'an, a tale you were unaware of before this. Long ago, Joseph told his father, "My dear father, I saw a vision of 11 planets and the sun and moon. I see them all submitting to me." His father said, "My dear son, do not relate your vision to your brothers. They may plot against you. The devil is a blatant enemy to people. It indicates that your Lord has selected you for duty. He imparted to you the gift of explaining the meaning of discourses and events. He conferred a gift from him on you, as he did previously on your ancestors Abraham and Isaac. Your Lord's ruling is always based on his perfect knowledge." The case of Joseph and his brothers is certainly instructive for those with questions. The brothers complained one day, "Our father seems to love Joseph and his brother more than us. That, in spite of us all being part of the same home. Our father is clearly in the wrong here." The devil suggested to them, "You need to either kill or exile Joseph from this land, for your father to pay attention to you. Then, after he is gone, you shall become upright in his eyes again." One of the brothers spoke and said, "If you are to take action, let it not be to kill Joseph. Instead, drop him down a deep well. Travelers will discover and take him out." The brothers then approached their father and said, "Dear father of ours, why do you never trust us with Joseph, even though we are faithful to him? Do send him with us tomorrow for some fun and games. We promise to look after him." Their father replied, "If you take him, it will continuously worry me. A wolf could devour him while you are distracted." They answered, "We are all part of one home. If a wolf devours him, we would all suffer loss." They eventually took him with them, having secretly resolved to drop him down a deep well. To Joseph, we divinely communicated the words, "One day you shall inform them of this plot of theirs when they least expect it." They returned to their father in the evening crying. They explained, "Dear father of ours, we were racing each other and left Joseph with our bags. The wolf came and devoured him. Even if we told the truth, you will not believe us." They produced his shirt, stained by fake blood. Seeing it, their father exclaimed, "No, what happened is that you were led by your own dark urges. Brave endurance then. God shall mitigate what you have designed." Meanwhile, a caravan passed by the well in which Joseph was dropped. To it, they sent a water carrier. When he let down his bucket down the well, he exclaimed, "A young boy! What a surprise!" The travelers hid him as they would a treasure, while God was fully aware of their actions. They sold him off for a small price, a few silver coins, in their eagerness to get rid of him. The man from Egypt who purchased him said to his wife, "Respect his position here with us. He could be of benefit to us. We could even adopt him as a son." That is how we restored Joseph to a stable earthly existence. This, so we could impart to him the gift of explaining the meaning of discourses and events. God always lets his command prevail, but most people fail to realize this. By the time Joseph was fully grown, we had imparted to him good judgment and knowledge. That is how we reward the righteous. But then one day, the mistress of the house where Joseph lived approached him seductively in a way unbefitting to him. She locked the doors, then said, "I want you to come to me." Joseph said, "Refuge, please God." My Lord gave me such a fine abode here. He never makes the wicked succeed." She was obsessed with him. He too would have been obsessed with her if he did not have a clear vision of his divine Lord's logic. On account of such vision did we save him from bad and immoral acts. He was indeed one of our sincere devotees. They both raced to the door, during which she tore the back of his shirt. By the door they found the master of the house, and she shouted, "Does he who comes with lust after your wife not deserve prison or torture?" Joseph spoke and said, "She acted seductively towards me, in a way unbefitting to me." A bystander and member of her house advised, "If his shirt is torn in front, then it means she spoke the truth, thus making him the liar. On the other hand, if his shirt is torn at the back, it means she lied and he is telling the truth." After the lord of the house inspected his shirt and found it to be torn at the back, he said, "So you women contrived it. Outrageous was this scheme of yours. Joseph, please overlook this. As for you, dear wife, you should repent for your sin, as you were the one at fault." The talk that went out in the town amongst the womenfolk was, "The wife of the minister is trying to seduce her own servant inappropriately. A servant boy has stolen her heart. It seems she has lost her mind." When she heard of their gossip, she sent for them and prepared a banquet for them. At the banquet she gave each one a knife, then said to Joseph, "Make your appearance in front of them." When the women saw him, they all started cheering for him, to the point where some of them cut their own hands. The women exclaimed, "Dear God, this is no mortal man, this is an angel from heaven." The mistress of the house said, "This is the same thing you ladies accused me of. I acted seductively towards him in order to tempt him, but he remained incorruptible. If he fails to do as I tell him, he will be imprisoned, suffering humiliation." Joseph said, "My dear Lord, I do then prefer prison above their seducements. If you do not ward off their designs from me, I may incline towards them and lose my civility." His Lord did accept his prayer and warded off the designs which they had on him. He knows and sees all. It occurred to the landlord and his household, after witnessing the effects that Joseph had, that he should be confined to a prison camp for a while. Entering the prison camp with Joseph at the time, there were two other men. One of them narrated a dream he had, saying, "I see in my dream that I am pressing wine grapes." The other one also narrated a constant dream he had, saying, "I dream I carry bread upon my head from which birds were pecking. Give us the meaning of our dreams, for you seem like a holy man to us." Joseph responded, "Before you even receive your meals today, as nourishment, will I prophesy to you what is to befall you, based on your dreams, before it befalls you. It is from amongst the gifts imparted to me by my Lord. This, since I abandoned the ways of my people, who refuse to acknowledge God, and who deny the life hereafter. I follow the ways of my forefathers Abraham and Isaac and my father Jacob. We refuse to co-opt any divine authority with the one true God. That gains us the advantage with the one true God over the rest of people. Most people will not appreciate this. My dear prison companions, tell me, how can serving a diversity of masters be better than serving one true God, one who singularly holds complete sway? That to which you presently devote yourselves to are but baseless figures invoked by your forefathers. Never did God ever authorize any of it. Divine judgment belongs to God alone. His command is that you commit sacredly to Him and Him alone. That is what constitutes the ideal order of things. Sadly, though, most people will never realize this. My dear prison companions, as for one of you, he shall one day become a cupbearer to his master. As for the other, he shall one day be impaled and the birds shall feed from his head. This then settles the matter about which you sought meaning. To the one whom he claimed would be saved, Joseph said, "Please raise my case when you are with your master." But the devil made him forget to raise Joseph's case. Joseph therefore languished in prison for several more years. The king of Egypt spoke and said, "I see in my dreams 7 fat cows being consumed by 7 lean cows. Then I also see 7 green ears of grain and 7 withered. Dear nobility of my court, explain my dream to me if you are capable of interpreting my dreams." His court nobility replied, "A truly baffling set of dreams. Our knowledge does not encompass the interpretation of dreams." Then spoke one of 2 men released from prison, after recalling his encounter with Joseph after all that time. He said, "I am able to come up with a prophetic interpretation of these dreams. Allow me to travel in search of it." Upon reaching Joseph in the prison camp, he spoke and said, "Dear Joseph, man of truth, interpret for us a dream about 7 fat cows, whom 7 lean ones consume, and of 7 green ears of grain and the same number withered. I wish to return to the people and let them know the meaning." Joseph replied, "Cultivate for 7 years continuously, but leave all that you harvest in the ear, except a little which you must eat. Then after that will come 7 difficult years, which will consume what you stored for those difficult years, except very little of what you stored. Then after that will come a time when people will be richly watered and able to press wine and oil." The king instructed, "Bring him to me." When the message bearer approached him, Joseph said, "Go back to your master and question him about the women who had cut their hands. Their deception has not escaped he who is my master." The king summoned, then asked the ladies, "What is the truth of the story, back when you acted seductively towards Joseph to tempt him?" They replied, "In due honesty before God, we found him to be incorruptible." The wife of the landlord where Joseph stayed at that time also spoke and said, "Now that the truth has come out, I confess that I did indeed act seductively towards him to tempt him. What he spoke back then was the truth." Before having sent back the king's message bearer, Joseph had said, "I have to make known the truth of this matter, so my landlord and caregiver would know that I never betrayed him secretly. Also to illustrate that God brings not fruition to the plots of a betrayer. I, Joseph, am not doing this for personal absolution. It is so that any person's passions can lead him to corruption, unless my Lord intervenes beneficently. Even if he does not intervene, my Lord still remains forgiving and kind." After the confessions of the women, the king instructed, "Bring Joseph to me. Henceforth he shall be assigned to me personally." After having a conversation with Joseph, the king declared, "Today you attain the rank of my trusted viceroy." Joseph said to the king, "Do place the national treasury under my custody, for I shall maintain custodianship with great diligence." That was how we ascended Joseph in the land. From that moment onward, he could do as he pleased. We touch whoever we please with our favorable touch. Never do we diminish the dues of the righteous. For those who embrace this message and act sensibly, the gains of the life hereafter shall be even greater. When Joseph had ascended as viceroy in the land, his brothers came to Egypt and entered into his presence. He recognized them, while they remained unaware of who he was. After he had loaded their caravan with grain provisions, he called out, Please bring with you the other paternal brother you have next time when you come. I have, as you can see, given you a healthy apportionment, which takes that brother into account, and have accommodated you favorably. If you fail to bring him along to me to justify his grain apportionment, I cannot apportion to the same level to you next time, and your standing shall be diminished. They said, "We will seek him from his father." This we will certainly undertake. Joseph had secretly told his assistants, restore their bartered merchandise in their cargo bags so they can recognize it when they get back to their family. Hopefully that will make them return. When they returned to their father, they said, "Dear father, we are going to be denied our apportionment unless you send our brother with us to justify his portion. We will be sure to take good care of him." Their father replied, "Do I then trust you with him as I trusted you with his brother the last time? The fact is that it is God that best protects. His graciousness surpasses all who have grace." When they later opened the cargo bags, they found that the stock they had taken to trade in Egypt had been returned to them. They again approached their father and said, "Dear father, what more do we need? This is our trading stock which has been returned to us. We can now get extra grain for our household. We promise to keep our brother safe when taking him along and be entitled to an extra camel load of grain, an easy way to gain such an apportionment." Jacob said, "Never shall I send him with you, unless you promise by God that you will bring him back to me, unless you yourselves are put under siege." Then, when they made the promise, he said, "Now let God be the guarantor of what you have promised." He added, "When in Egypt, enter not from one gate, but from various gates. Even I cannot grant you the least bit of clemency from God. Divine rule belongs only to God. On him do I depend, and on him any dependent person should depend." Even when they did as their father commanded, it made no difference to God's plan for them. It merely fulfilled a need of their father. Jacob himself knew better, since we imparted knowledge to him. Most people will not grasp this knowledge, however. When they arrived at Joseph's base, he made his maternal brother stay with him. When they were alone, he told his brother, "It is me, your lost brother. Fret not over what they committed a long time ago." When he loaded their caravan with grain provisions, he hid a drinking cup in the cargo bag of his brother. Soon an official cried out, "You in the caravan, you have stolen." After turning back towards Joseph's company, they asked, "What is it that you find missing?" They replied, "We lost a royal goblet." And Joseph added, "He who finds it gets a camel load of grain, which I will make good on." The brothers responded, "By God, you know full well that we came not to cause any problems here in this land, and you know that we are not thieves." The company of Joseph responded, "So then, name the penalty, if you are found to be lying." They answered, "The penalty for the crime shall be the freedom of whoever's bag the goblet is found in, the same as how we reckon with the wicked." An official started on all the cargo bags before coming to Joseph's brother's bag. Eventually, he retrieved it from the cargo bag of Joseph's brother. That was the stratagem we devised for Joseph. In terms of what was royal practice, Joseph could not just detain his brother unless it met with the will of God. We elevate to various degree whoever we choose, but above all, there is the one in possession of knowledge. The brothers shouted, "A thief is he," in the same way his brother was long ago. Joseph kept quiet about the facts, never revealing the secret. All he said was, "Be worried about your own miserable standing. The tales you spin are better known to God." The brothers then started pleading, "Noble sir, This accused man has an elderly, frail father. Take one of us in his place. You do seem a fair and righteous man to us." Joseph responded, "God forbid that we arrest any but the man who was found in possession of the stolen property. That would make us the villain." When they gave up on convincing him, they held a private council. The eldest amongst them spoke and said, "You do realize that your father made you swear by God to return his son, and that you broke that same promise with Joseph years ago. I will not depart this land unless my father gives me permission, or unless God arbitrates for me. He, after all, is the best arbiter. Return to your father and say to him, 'Dear father, your son stole. We can only account for things that we knew of. Surely we could not guard against that which we could not see. Do ask the town through which we came and the caravan we encountered in that town, and you will see that we are indeed being truthful.'" "Back home," Jacob said, "No. Again you were led by your urges. Brave endurance then. Maybe one day God will return them all to me, for he is indeed the ruler, in possession of perfect knowledge." Then he turned from them, lamenting, "Oh, how I miss my Joseph." With eyes tear-filled from grief, he went into a pensive mood. They said, "By God, your memory of Joseph will not wane till you become decrepit or perish one day." He answered, "I have only God, to whom I can lament my pain and my sadness. I have knowledge from God, which you lack. My sons, go and investigate what happened to Joseph and his brother. Do not lose hope that God can bring relief. Only people who deny God fail to hope for relief from him." When they returned to Joseph's base, they pleaded with him, "Noble sir, terrible misfortune has befallen us and our entire family. All we have is some scanty trading ware. Please give us a full apportionment out of generosity. God rewards the generous." He spoke and said, "So do you now recall what you did to Joseph and his brother the time you lost your civility?" Upon recognizing Joseph, they exclaimed, "It is you, Joseph." He replied, "I am Joseph, and this is my brother. God wished us well. He wishes well anyone that remains sensible while persevering. God never diminishes the dues of the righteous." They said, "By God, you have been made superior to us, the clear transgressors, by God." Joseph responded, "No scorn is there for you this day. May God grant you all forgiveness. His graciousness surpasses all who have grace. Take this shirt of mine and lay it over my father's face, so his sight may recover. Then bring your entire clan to me." As the caravan departed from Egypt, their father back home remarked, "Joseph's fragrance is in the air. Do not think me delirious." Those with him remarked, "You remain caught in the same old wandering thoughts." Then arrived the bearer of glad tidings and cast the shirt over their father's face, thereby restoring his sight. Their father exclaimed, "Did I not tell you I had knowledge from God, which you lack?" They said, "Our dear father, forgive us our offenses. Such criminals were we." He said, "My Lord and Sustainer shall forgive you. He remains forgiving and kind." When they entered the presence of Joseph, he offered both his parents accommodation with him, saying, "Enter Egypt in peace and security, as long as God so wills." He escorted his parents up unto the seat of the viceroy, where they all bowed before him, the viceroy of the king. Joseph said, "My dear father, this is the fulfillment of that dream I had long ago. My Lord made it become real. He improved my position when he released me from prison, and he brought you here from the desert, after Satan incited dissent between me and my brothers. My Lord is indeed strategic in executing his will. He indeed is the ruler in possession of perfect knowledge. My Lord, you gave me dominion. You taught me the meaning of discourses and events. Designer of heavens and earth, you see to me in this world and the next. Let my departure from this life be in subservience. Please count me amongst the upright. This, then, is some lost information, which we now communicate to you, for you were absent when they resolved upon what they were going to do in furtherance of their plot. Most of humanity, even though you wish for it, will fail to embrace truth. Do not seek any inducement from them. This which you are engaged in is but a fair reminder to all nations. They fail to embrace this message in the same way they will fail to embrace the evidence present throughout the heavens and the earth. Evidence they constantly encounter, yet remain averse to. Most of them who do embrace God, do so with the co-option of false gods. How can they be so complacent that God's damnation will not overcome them? Or that the 0 hour will not strike them unexpectedly in their state of obliviousness? Tell them, this is what my pathway entails. I invite you to acknowledge the one true God, based on evidence, I and all who follow me. Furthermore, that the one true God deserves all glory, and I co-opt no object of veneration beside him. We never sent any but humans, whom we divinely communicated to the people of the cities. Have you not traveled across the lands and observed the outcomes of those nations who lived before you? Certainly, the abode of the life hereafter is the better one for those who are sensible. Does this not make sense to you? To the point where the messengers started losing hope, wondering whether they were misinformed, when our help came and we rescued those whom we chose to rescue. Honor people given to perversity, however, we never retract our wrath. In their tales there is a lesson for people with deep insight. These are not made-up stories, but a verification of what came before you. They constitute an elucidation of all things, a source of direction and a courtesy to people who choose to embrace it.